Hi, this is Professor Curtis, and this is Sports Law. Let's talk a little bit about the U.S. legal system and the way that the courts are structured. Here in the U.S., we have two routes that a case can take, either civil or criminal. Now, let's take, for example, horrible activities of one O.J. Simpson. Remember him? He allegedly killed two people, and the state of California brought charges against him for murder. That would be a criminal case. The state of California versus O.J. Simpson. The state wants to find him guilty, and they want to impose money damages, an injunction, and either imprisonment or even the death penalty. Money damages, this happens all the time. Every criminal case, the state wants some money. An injunction, that's an order from a court forcing you to do something or forcing you not to do something. In the case of O.J. Simpson, the state of California was looking for an injunction forcing O.J. to stay away from his two children. And imprisonment, of course, is self-explanatory. Now, in a civil case, well, you're talking about different parties and different damages. In a civil case, you're talking about individuals versus other individuals. Companies against people, people against companies. The state of California is not involved. It would be, for example, as it was with O.J. Simpson, the family of one of the people who he allegedly killed against O.J. Simpson. The attempt there is to find O.J. Simpson liable and to obtain money damages or an injunction. Again, an order from a court forcing you to do something or forcing you not to do something. Now, how come O.J. Simpson was found not guilty in the criminal case, but he was found liable in the civil case? Well, that's because of the standard of proof. In a criminal case, the prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that O.J. Simpson committed the crime. Can they prove that? Well, the jury didn't think so, and, well, most experts don't think so either. After all, there were no eyewitnesses, there was no murder weapon, and very little forensic evidence. But what do you think? You think he did it? Maybe 80-20 he did it, 90-10 he did it. Certainly not beyond a reasonable doubt. And so you're not guilty in the criminal case. In the civil case, however, brought by the families of the two people he allegedly killed, in the civil case seeking money damages, the standard of proof is much different. The standard of proof is the preponderance of the evidence. Is it more likely than not that O.J. Simpson did, in fact, kill these people? Oh, yeah, you know what? It probably is. It's, if we go 80-20, maybe 70-30, yeah, it's more likely than not that he did it. There was some forensic evidence found. He couldn't explain his whereabouts. The bloody glove. You can all look all of that up if you'd like. So there's civil cases and criminal cases. Oh, by the way, as a footnote to all of this, O.J. Simpson being found liable in the civil case had to pay money damages. So what he did was he started selling off much of his memorabilia. He won, for example, the Heisman Trophy given to the best college football player in the country. He sold that, along with other of his helmets and uniforms and autographed memorabilia. Some years later, he wanted that back from a memorabilia dealer who refused to give it to him. So O.J. Simpson and a few of his friends broke into this man's hotel room in Nevada and stole it. Yeah, that's a criminal case. The state of Nevada in this case versus O.J. Simpson. And in fact, using beyond a reasonable doubt, this time it was found that O.J. Simpson in fact committed this crime. Lots of cameras in Nevada, lots of cameras in Las Vegas, and he was found guilty of the crime and went to prison. Now, along with the tracks of civil and criminal law, there also are tracks of federal and state courts. Let's take this for example. Let's say that Joe, who is from Florida, punches John, who is from Georgia. Where should that case take place? Should that case be heard in Florida or in Georgia? Well, maybe there's a law in Florida that permits the defendant to punch the plaintiff. I don't know. Maybe he did something to make him really angry. And so the law would permit that in Florida, but not in Georgia. So what do? Instead of going to state court, we go into federal court. Something perhaps neutral or more neutral. Can you be more neutral? Perhaps in federal court you can. So how do you get into federal court? Federal court hears two kinds of cases. Number one, cases of diversity jurisdiction. That means that, number one, the parties are from two different states. Here in this case, we're talking about one from Florida and one from Georgia. And the case has to be for what is called the jurisdictional amount, more than $75,000. That changes from decade to decade. Now it's $75,000. It's mostly because we don't want the federal courts being bogged down with little stuff that they don't really need to take the time over. Second way to get into federal court is if you've got a federal question. This involves a federal law or the Constitution. We're going to be talking in this term about a number of different federal laws. The Americans with Disabilities Act, for example, the Civil Rights Act. These are issues that will go to the federal court. Once you're in federal court, the question is, how many bites at the apple do you get? Well, here in the United States, we love to appeal things, right? So, you generally have 3 bites at the apple. You have, in the federal court system, the district court. The district court is the trial court. You then have, once you appeal from that, to the Federal Court of Appeals, and then the United States Supreme Court. Let's take our case between these two guys, one from Florida and one from Georgia. The case would likely start in the federal district court for the Southern District of Florida, which is based in Miami. If there is an appeal of that, it goes to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, based in Atlanta. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals hears all cases involving any lawsuits in federal court in Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. An appeal from that then would go to the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. Now, the United States Supreme Court does not have to hear the case. They have the right of what is called certiorari, a Latin term. The United States Supreme Court may grant certiorari, in which case it hears the case, or deny certiorari, in which case they refuse to hear the case, and whatever happened at the appeals court level is the final decision on the case. State courts are similarly structured: a trial court, an appeals court, and the Supreme Court. As you see, you are here in Boca Raton, or at least we are here in Boca Raton. If there is a trial at the state court level, first place it goes is Atlantic Avenue in Delray Beach. That's the closest trial court. Then the appeal is to the 15th Judicial Circuit, which handles all of Palm Beach County. And then from there, it goes to the Supreme Court in Tallahassee, the state capital. All right, if you got any questions, just let me know.